Okay. Solving problems using rational functions. So it says you buy a case of shirts for $450. You keep 2 shirts for yourself, sell the rest at $560, making a profit of $10 on each shirt. How many shirts were in the case? Okay. There's a couple of business ideas we gotta get around here. One of them will be revenue, profit. So, for instance, profit is equal to your revenue or the money you take in. So, revenue minus what you pay for something. That's how you determine profit of some idea. Cost is essentially the selling price. Cost is buying price, sorry, we'll say. Buying price times number of items. Let's just say number of items. And revenue is selling price times number of items. Does that make sense? A little?
Yes.
So if you're selling cakes at Dairy Queen, right? And for some reason you don't make the cakes yourself. So say you spend $5 to buy a cake and you buy 10 of them, your cost was $50. Then you turn around and sell them at $6 a cake and you sell 6, well your cost was $60. So you take your revenue and your cost, that would be 60 minus 50, and your profit, would be $10. Okay, so that's what these 3 formulas kind of give us. So what we're going to do is try to plug this information into these 3 things. You buy a case of t-shirts for $450. So that's our cost. Our cost is $450. We don't know how many items there were. And we don't know what the buying price really was. Okay? So we'll leave it at that. We'll put some information in. We'll see what we can do with it. So our new cost was $450. So this is our cost function, right? So C equals, we'll say B times number. We don't know what the buying price is yet, so we'll call it B to start. And number of items, we're going to call X, because the question asks us how many shirts were in the case. Well, that's the number of items. Okay, so we're going to call that our X. With that same idea, we'll do a revenue function. Revenue equals selling times number of items, or in our case will be X. Well, we got $560 in revenue. Okay. The selling price, we didn't really have either. Would be our S. But we, again, have an X involved here. Okay. And then finally, what it was here is it said that they made a profit of $10 on each. Well, we don't have an actual revenue yet because we still have a variable, and we don't have an actual cost yet because we still have a variable. But if they make a profit, here's another thing. Let's say profit per item. Okay? So profit per item. Well, a profit per item would be a formula like this. Your profit would be the difference between your buying price and your selling price. So your selling price minus buying price. And the reason that is, just like we said with our Dairy Queen example, remember we said we bought them at $5 each and sold them at $6 each? Or a profit per item would just be the selling price, which is 6, times the buying price, which is minus the buying price, which is 5. So what would our profit per item be there? We just $1. And we sold 10 items, so we made $10. In this question, it says our profit per item was $10. So our profit per item is $10. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually use this formula here. The selling price minus the buying price is equal to the profit per item. That's going to be the major formula. Even though this one is usually a very good one of what we're doing, this is what's very important to us. Our selling price minus our buying price. Okay? So we can actually figure that out because B, we can isolate for B and get a buying price. And S, we can isolate for S and get a selling price. And we already know the profit per item is $10. Okay, so I'm going to zoom out a little. 100 here. So with that idea, what that means is our profit per item, which was $10. Okay, and actually you're going to isolate for B over here. So in this case, it says 450 divided by X is equal to our B. That was our buying price. Okay, we'll do the other one in blue. 560 divided by X is equal to our S. That was our selling price. And the profit per item, okay, profit, was $10. So we're going to replace this S with this formula and this B with this formula. We're going to obviously have to subtract them, and it's going to be equal to 10. Does this idea kind of make sense? This is the confusing part, setting this up, because it's a business type question. So go back down to where we were. What that means is our profit per item, we made $10 per item. Okay. Our selling price is now 560 divided by X. And our buying price is now, so we subtract 450 divided by X. And that's going to give our profit per item. Okay. So now we have just X on, oh sorry, there was a mistake here. I do remember this. You keep 2 shirts for yourself. Sorry, I got so enthralled with making sure we understand this today, we forgot that little piece of information. So we kept 2 shirts for ourselves. So in other words, sorry, our revenue was technically, so that was going to be a little too easy. It was our selling price minus, sorry, selling price times X minus 2. It doesn't change too much for us. All that means is there's a negative 2 on the bottom here. Okay? So we subtract by 2 on the bottom.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to clarify this again. So our $10 profit was equal to the $560 we made divided by the amount of shirts we got minus the 2 that we kept for ourselves. And the cost, or our selling price, was $450 divided by the number of shirts we bought, which we don't know. Now remember, we need to set this equal to 0, so we move 10 to the other side. When I move 10 to the other side, we get 0 is equal to 560 divided by X minus 2, subtract 450 divided by X minus 10. I now have 3 major terms, and I'm going to make it a fraction just so we can work with it a little better. 3 different denominators here. Okay. Well, luckily, one of the denominators is the number 1. So when I multiply these guys all by 1, it's not going to change anything. That's not going to be a big difference. So all we really need to do is, because this denominator is X, I'm going to multiply this equation by X, top and bottom. Because this denominator is X minus 2, we're going to multiply this guy by X minus 2 and X minus 2. And then technically, since this one is 1, I should multiply all of them by 1, and then this guy actually has to get multiplied by X minus 2 and X. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Technically, I am multiplying each of these by 1 also, so you notice all the denominators are the same. But the 1, when I multiply it on top, is not going to really change anything. Okay. So now that we do that, we have 0 is equal to 560x over, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this all in one denominator. You okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Since they're all the same, we'll just put it as one large denominator. Nope, that's not fine at all. Okay, that one large denominator is what? Do you know?
X minus 2 bracket X bracket 1.
Yeah. And do we need to include the 1? We don't need to include the 1. So we have 560x subtract. This one's going to read 450 times x minus 2. And then subtract 10 times x minus 2. Okay? So from here, now like you said, because we're trying to isolate for 0 here, to get rid of the denominator part of this fraction, what are we going to do to both sides?
Multiply by that.
Yeah, we're going to multiply by x minus 2 over here, x, right? And we'll do the same up here. Technically we have to do everything, right? So the idea is we multiply all of that by x minus 2 and x. But all that's going to happen is these are going to create a 1 or cancel out, and this is going to stay at 0, right? So now we're just left with the top part of this function. 0 is equal to 50x. And I'm going to distribute this, okay? So that becomes minus 450x plus 900, okay? This is the equivalent of 10x, and I'm going to distribute 10x to both of those. So it becomes minus 10x squared, right, plus 20x. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
Collect our like terms. So here are my x values to the power of 1. Those are the only like terms. This is the only squared, and this is the only constant. So 0 is equal to negative 10x squared. 560 minus 450, what is that, 110? Plus 20 is 130. So plus 130x plus 900. Well, what type of equation do we have now? Yeah, it's also known as a, because it's to the power of 2, quadratic, right? In order to solve quadratics, do you remember what we do? Yeah, we do factoring. So I'm going to common factor out negative 10. So negative 10 comes out, and that gives us x squared minus 13x minus 90. Are you okay with that? So we took that out. I might have to use quadratic formula. Let's see. Think of any factors of 90. What are they? 6 times 15, I think is 1. Yeah. 3 go in, 3 goes in 30 times. That's no good. Let's just use the quadratic formula so we know we're going to get something good here, right? We'll get it quickly instead of working with factoring. So we have x minus b plus or minus the root, and I'll divide it by b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a, right? Okay, now we only have to look at the inside of the brackets because we factored out the 10. So we only look at the a, b, and c value in there. So our b value is negative 13, so that becomes a positive when we plug it into negative b. So we get 13 plus or minus the root of, what's 13 squared? Do you have a calculator with you? Or do you know it off the top of your head? Yeah? I think it's 169. Want to check? Minus 4 times 1 times negative 90.
169.
Yeah, okay. And then 2 times a, well, that's just 2. Okay? So let's do the square root part here. 13 plus or minus the root of, oh, is this going to even work? Oh, have we taken a wrong turn here? What happens underneath these brackets? We have 169. 4 times, oh, we're going to be adding. We'll be fine. What's 4 times 90? Or 4 times 9?
It's 56.
You're thinking of almost 6 times 9.
36.
36, yeah. So 4 times 90 is 360. Times 1 is still 360. And we have a negative times a negative, so we have plus 360 underneath. Okay? We're going to still need that calculator. That's going to end up being what? The root of 9, 2 carry 1. 529. So do you want to find the root of 529 for us?
I don't have that on my calculator.
Oh, you can't square root?
Should I get a calculator?
Yeah, let's, I have one right here. 529 square root. Oh, 23. Nice. How come we can't go down any further? Am I at the end of this page? Oh, I might be at the end of this page. Okay, so we're going to have to kind of squeeze this in. That becomes 23. So, we're moving over here. We have 13 plus or minus 23 over 2. So we're going to get 2 answers. I guess I'm at the end of the page. I've never had that happen. One's going to read 13 plus 23 over 2. And the other one's going to read 13 minus 23 over 2. Which will give us 13 and 23 is 36. Divided by 2 is 18. Okay. 13 minus 23 is negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So, let's think about these. How many shirts could they have had in the case? Could they have had negative 5 shirts in the case? No. Could they have had 18 shirts in the case? Yeah. So So we're probably looking at 18 shirts in this case. So yeah, that's probably why we're at the end of the page. Took us quite a while. We had to create the rational function, which is probably the hardest part about this. And then we factored in the end to solve it.